class! I hope your week's going well. Today we'll be covering the fundamentals of music and culture writing, starting off with the 4 keys to quality criticism. So, all of us are natural critics. Maybe even before we can remember, we found certain flavors of baby food appealing and others appalling. Certain television shows or movies either captivating or boring. And certain radio tunes super stellar and catchy or ear-splittingly annoying. Even then, we were exercising our critical faculties before we knew what those words meant exactly. The challenge for aspiring music critics and journalists is to develop that voice, the command, and the authority that gives one's criticism its own weight. There must be something substantial to make an assessment more than an individual preference or snap judgment or simple opinion. You can't argue with an opinion. Either you like it or you don't. What you must aim for is an argument. An argument can enlighten, engage, sometimes even infuriate, but it can make a reader think of something differently. Even readers who disagree with the critic's evaluation of a piece, or a concert, or an artist can appreciate the way in which that person comes to terms with their subject or work. Let's jump into the 4 keys to quality criticism. There's something that readers and writers alike recognize as essential to a review that is more than just a knee-jerk reaction. Number 1 is description. What is it like? Description precedes argument in the sense that it's a starting point that we can all agree on. Those who hate a piece of music or love a piece of music can concur that the piece is slow and simple, while other person's meditative is another person's boring. The difference in descriptive and evaluative adjectives is a crucial distinction. Word choice is crucial in maintaining the difference between descriptive and evaluative. If we both agree that the Japanese bebop band, The Seatbelts, is noisy, which is descriptive, but to me is edgy and vibrant, which is a positive and evaluative adjective, and to you may be some chaotic mess that's negative and evaluative, we've discovered what each of us values in a piece of music. Once we recognize points in which we can all agree, we can analyze points of departure. Number 2 is context. Where and how does it fit? Beyond describing a work, an effective critic must also place it into context for the reader. Writers create context by relating a piece to the works of other musical artists, or to a specific genre, or even its larger cultural context within the society. Each review might require different lengths of focus on contextual background depending on how much the audience or readership may know on a subject or would like to know on a particular piece of music or style. For example, if you're introducing a new musical artist, you will want to include more information that is biographical. If, in this case, the reader follows the writer's career, you would then focus on the new work instead. See the difference? But providing the appropriate amount of context is one of the trickiest things that a reviewer may face. You have to be able to gauge how much context you need without belaboring the obvious for readers that may already know the subject. Pop music critic John Perels says in an interview that we write for a general reader rather than an avid music follower, so we make an effort to go straightforward and inviting. In the chapters that I have assigned for class 3 and 4, pay attention to how much context the music journalists include within their pieces. Does the piece of writing presume knowledge on the readership? Interpretation. What does it mean and how does it work? So after having described the piece of music and put it within a cultural or stylistic or biographical context, the reviewer has to explain how the components of a work work together as an artistic whole. Why does this particular CD from the Black Cadillac's new EP start out with a ballad, while other artists may have saved it for the end? Description tells the audience what is there, but interpretation shows us why it is there, at least from the reviewer's perspective. Interpretation also helps build the argument that leads to evaluation, although sometimes one may precede the other. One thing you should be aware of in dealing with interpretation is intentional fallacy, or the assumption that expressed intent behind the music defines the music itself. What an artist may have meant to be understood or intended about their music may hold different connotation in the eyes of the critic and the audience. Artists create, critics interpret and evaluate. Number 4, evaluation. Is it any good? The critic that tries to please everyone ends up pleasing no one. Their writing suffers. Timid writers worry about being wrong. There's no wrong, just contrasting evaluations and interpretations. Results otherwise often end up as a play-by-play announcing style, rather than an informative argument. Having taken a stand, the music critic builds his or her argument with interpretation, context, and description, the 3 previous keys to quality criticism, showing not simply that the work is good or bad, but why they believe it is that way. The challenge is to provide a perspective that is challenging and refreshing, and to let the reader experience the music through the writer's work, their ears, so to speak. So in conclusion, as we continue to read and analyze pieces in our class, you'll learn not only to recognize strong arguments, but to craft your own as well. See you next time!